Growing up with a mentally ill mother was challenging, to say the least. I spent most of my childhood taking care of her when I was around her. And I'm okay with it primarily because I don't really know anything different, you know? Like, of course I saw that other people had less of a dynamic that I had, like a mother-daughter relationship in reverse, with their parents. I guess reverse for me, but normal for them? I don't know. Needless to say, I struggled. I struggled a lot. There were many times where I felt really alone because having someone have the problems that she has and had, at the time, because everyone changes, but when I was a child, there was more of a stigma around the issues she had, so I was a little bit of a black sheep in my family. No one really quite knew how to treat me. I think that almost everyone was afraid of getting close to me because they feared I'd turn out like my mother, which is a valid fear. But in turn, I did have kind of a lonely upbringing. I didn't really have the same sort of attention that other kids got, and because my mother was sick and I had to spend a lot of time with her, I kind of got excluded from my dad's side of the family. So my brother and sister and my stepmom and my dad would all go on vacations together and stuff like that, and I would just kind of be sent off to my mom's, My siblings were told that I was doing the equivalent of what they were doing, but I think it doesn't matter that much anymore. It still hurts though. So days like yesterday where the past is the present, sometimes the instances and experiences I had with my mother in the way that she was can make me have a hard time, even though it's not happening anymore, Like, I really struggle with police, because a lot of people didn't understand my mother, and they would do things that would get her very riled up, like you don't tell someone who's having an episode, you're crazy, you don't know what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. You just try to calm them down, but lack of education, people didn't understand what to do, so they would get her really riled up. And a lot of the times, police would get involved. And that would be really difficult for me because I'd be really young, and there would be these really big men who all had tasers and weapons and stuff, and they would be all trying to get towards my mom. And she would be afraid, because she knew that if the police came, they would be taking her back to a place that was scary for her and where she wasn't treated right. And then she would also have the fear of, is this the last time I'm going to see my daughter, And in my experience, when I was sitting there and going through all that, I didn't understand that very well, I just saw these random strangers coming after my mother, and I knew how to calm her down So having all of these people just getting her so riled up made me so upset, you know? I was so angry most of the time that I didn't even have room for fear, which is kind of weird, you know? I was really protective of her. I still am, most times. But she's her own independent person. And I'm happy to say that she's grown a lot from those days, you know? And I'm really proud of her for it. But it doesn't erase the things that happened, you know? And watching people that are supposed to protect just hurt is really hard. I know I'm not the only one who's gone through that, though. But I know that people don't expect people who look like me or have a background like me to have a story like that. I don't know. It's hard. Right now, I'm trying to repair my relationship with that type of authority that we have in our society. And it can be very difficult, you know? I remember when I was working at Starbucks as a little barista and a little shift lead, we would have times, this was way before BLM, by the way, like a couple years before, at least. We would have one weekend a month where each Sunday, like each first of the month or whatever Sunday, I don't even remember honestly, there would be some police officers that would just, you know, hang out there, talk to the public, get engaged with, you know, that side of town, that demographic that we were dealing with. And overall, it was a positive experience, you know, like it's a good thing that's supposed to happen that, you know, creates less fear and helps the police officers understand who they're actually serving, you know. But as a worker, I tried working one of those days and it did not go well. I had my vomit comet times in the back, and then I just couldn't finish my shift, and then I had to leave. So that was the last time I did that. But I'm proud to say that with a lot of effort and a lot of time and, you know, honestly hanging out with more conservative people who had a healthier relationship, you know, like relatives with police officers and stuff like that, that could see the humanity of these people, made it a lot easier for me. So when I worked at a bar in downtown Omaha, I would have a police officer there on weekends. And this time, I didn't throw up. I did smoke weed in the back alley, you know. So, I mean, there was some downs, but we started talking. And he started becoming a friend. He showed me how gray it was to be in his position, and how no matter what he did, he would never do it right, and how he's always going to have the reputation of others around him. That's hard. Because I want to hate the people that I saw cause so much destruction, you know? And the people that left scars, you know, emotionally and physically on someone I loved. And that role that allowed for it to happen. It's hard to have that empathy. But in order to move on, I need to have that empathy. Because what they didn't necessarily come from a place of malicious intent. It came from a place of lack of understanding. And just dealing with the worst of the worst all the time. So how can you have the compassion when it's needed? My mom's okay, by the way, and I'm okay. Like, my mom graduated from college recently and is doing a lot better, and I'm doing me, I guess, exploring all this stuff. So life goes on past those moments, but the past can still be the present. And every time it happens, I have to walk myself through it and remember everything I did to help understand that the bad that happened to me isn't necessarily reality. It's just my perception of reality, And I gotta overwrite the bad with good. A little simplistic, kind of idealistic, I know, but it works. So I'm just gonna keep doing it for now.